Hello, Next Geners, and welcome to our Friday form preview. The second week, geez, the first week wasn't too bad, hitting Mwanga, and then we had the Monday review show with Tommy Berry. So make sure you go to our YouTube channel to relive that. Unfortunately, Tommy copped a little stint on the sidelines about a month, but he's still in the mix for some of those big rides, including potentially Masked Crusader in the Everest and races like that. Hayden.
In the words of Eddie Guy, mate, what a big week it's been in footy, eh? when you sit back and you think that Tommy Berry getting a month's suspension for an unfortunate incident, you'd think that would be the leading news story of the week. But normally the IVRs take the stage when we do our previews and reviews, etc. But I think the number one newsman in the industry might be the golden man to have on today. It's been a little bit of a quiet week this week in racing.
Yeah, there's been a bit going on. So obviously Tommy out for a month. And then Glenn Boss went to Northern Territory to quarantine to come here to Melbourne, sent back home. So we've lost Glenn Boss from the Spring Carnival. So jockey mayhem there. Then a couple of days ago, police announced that they had arrested and since released without charge a vet and a trainer in the racing industry looking into potential race fixing. Obviously, just allegations at this stage. And then obviously last night, it became news that 4 jockeys and 2 non-racing participants, which included Jamie Carr and Ben Mallum, were at an Airbnb in Mornington on Wednesday night, not only breaking or outside their 5-kilometre radius, but also breaking curfew. Police confirmed that they've been fined $5,000 each. And today, Racing Victoria has suspended the 4 jockeys for 3 months. So they will miss the Spring Carnival. They'll miss the Melbourne Cup, the Cox Plate, the Caulfield Cup. It's, it's all negative headlines in that space. And it probably couldn't have come at a worse time for the sport. While the clubs are jockeying to get crowds back at the races, it's a terrible look that some of our best jockeys are breaking government protocols. So, yeah, as you said, it's been a big news week.
It's been a monster, hasn't it? When you look at the grand scheme of things, Victoria has been locked down. Would have been the second most lockdown place on the planet, I think. At over 200 and whatever days. If you think that 4 riders getting an Airbnb together is, if that's the worst thing that's going to happen to us through that whole COVID time, it's probably not a bad result. At the end of the day, I think, it's going to be frowned upon, and there's always going to be stories and allegations and all that sort of garbage that goes with anything like this. That's the worst of it. I don't think it's too bad. But each their own, I suppose.
That's an interesting take because racing really is at the mercy of the government, and the government has shut down other sports and let racing continue behind closed doors because it does involve, obviously, animals. There are so many jobs that racing generates, and we really are at the mercy of the government. And as an example, last year, the Tasmanian government shut down racing, and it wasn't in relation to a COVID positive in the industry. They were just extra cautious and perhaps don't feed on the money of racing as probably heavily as we do. So, it might seem a bit trivial at the moment, but if it got to the point where the government said shut down racing, it would have massive ramifications on a number of people and a number of jobs. So, I don't think we should treat this lightly. Certainly, it puts racing in a very precarious position. As I said, particularly as we're trying to get crowds to the Spring Carnival and the days count down until the spring really heats up. So, look, let's get stuck into the racing side of stuff, and we'll probably have to go through a few jockey changes as well. Jamie Carr was down to ride Behemoth in the Group 1, now gets Brett Preble. Just your early take. Brett's been in a bit of form. Obviously, Jamie was our leading rider last year, but how much do you read into jockey changes and who rides particular horses?
I don't so much read into jockey changes when they're the like for like. I pretty much categorise my jockeys into A, B, and C.
Yep.
In terms of, the A crop they do really stand out in terms of their talent. Then you've got the B division, then the C division old classes, your 3 kilo claiming style apprentice as such. So anyone from the A crop, if it's a like for like change, if it's a calf or a Preble or something of that nature, zero concern for me. The horse profile's predominantly what I'm looking at versus race shape, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not a big fan of, I will go over horses and rate them highly in terms of a profile with an apprentice on, but in terms of when it comes to betting as such, predominantly for a betting play, I need to have an A grade on for my money to be transacted. And if I've got someone who I deem to be the B class, the second tier, they've got an opportunity there to be possibly a B if it's an elite style of animal. If not, it would only ever be a C class bet. So that's how I read into it. I don't take it as serious as most people.
Yeah. And probably worth pointing out that I'm a $5, $10, $20 punter. You're a much bigger punter than me. And obviously I look at jockeys as well, but it doesn't end up determining who I bet on. But it's nice to have a bit of balance and your insight here. Let's get stuck into the card then. We're going to go through all 9 races at Caulfield. We'll go through some of the early ones pretty quick and not spend too much time on them. And then keen to have a look at the San Domenico at Kembla Grange as well. But race 1 at Caulfield is a 2,400 metre handicap. I always stuff up this name, Hayden.
Mahamadeus
backs up, a 7-day backup after running 4th to Pancho last week. Tooradin, Bedford, Here to Throne, Nerve Not Verve, Prince Ziggy, King's Full. It's a field of 7. I'll get up the TAB market here, but you let me know how you're sorting these ones out.
Yeah, not typically not a race that I like to get involved in early in the day. The small staying contests can typically be run at hurdle speed, etc. So not something that I'm a huge fan of. I was taken by Tooradin's latest start at Flemington. He's always been a horse who's had a solid profile, and he's had the opportunity. He's had several opportunities to prove he's a horse of city class ability. Hasn't quite done so until his latest Flemington, second best of the day, 1.6 lengths above IVR benchmark. Really strong increase in speed early. Gives me the indication that he's a stronger horse this campaign, and we haven't seen the best of him as yet. That was behind the highly touted Hosier at Flemington. Godeline finished 3rd on that occasion, won since yesterday's Sandown. So the race will stand up from an IVR perspective and from a natural form perspective. So he's the runner that I would be focusing on in this, and I marked him clearly as the one they need to beat. But you can definitely make a case for several of them, in particular Here to the Throne in a slowly run race, does have good straight line speed along with Bedford.
Okay, $2.30. You're betting on Tooradin?
No.
Okay, race 2. We've got here a 1,100 metre sprint around the bend in market order. Deep Speed 460, the Gouch 5, Our Wind Spirit 6, Destination 750, Dirty Thoughts 8, $10 the rest. Deep Speed's always been a horse with a little bit of talent, but a couple of these, Dirty Thoughts, Destination, the Gouch, it looks like an even bunch at the benchmark 78.
Definitely. Interesting. The 2 favourites are interesting. They're the typical profiles that I like to take on. They're up and coming. They're progressive. Deep Speed's got that benchmark style profile. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like we've seen the best of him, but there's plenty of holes in him at this point of his career. I don't think we've seen an all-round performance. Do think it's on its way, though. The Gouch, he's won some good races and been some competitive against some good horses. His first up performance, Caulfield 91 days back, he was a winner. He beat horses like Pintoff, Wilmot Pass. Not enough effort. it was a benchmark performance on that day. He's had the 91 days in between runs, indicates, they're just freshening him up or he's had a slight issue, campaign reset, we go again. Both of them are going to need to break that benchmark profile. They're going to need to go to a new level, likely to win. Both of them have top 3 credentials, but winning's not going to be the easiest for them in a race like this. I was taken by Our Win Spirit's performance first up Caulfield. He was electric late. In particular, he's the style of horse you want to have a look at from a replays perspective. He was electric last 200. Last 200 is not something that, that I don't like to overemphasize the last 200 metres. I think it's plays a lot of mind games and tricks with people, particularly when horses are out of the winning elastic band, as you may say, at the 600. They're technically in a different race. So people like to get all excited about the big flash home run and ultimately they don't get there the next start. He does have a profile. He could easily run in the half to 1 length above. So he's going to start to set a bit of a trend on what we're likely going to need to win. Other horse I was really interested in from an each way perspective was the Cummings horse. Ollie Goes On, Destination, good performance last up, winner in Sydney when beat Lancaster Bomber 6 gun. That form's good for a race like this. 21 days in between runs, perfect. Slow down forward to the 1.2 lengths, electric late. He can go past that 1.8. So in a race where we might need a 1 to win, Destination Our Win Spirit for me will be in front of the Gouch and Deep Speed.
What was the Destination last start, IBR?
He was the 7th best of the day, 0.8 above.
Okay. Yep. So there's probably not much between Destination and Our Win Spirit IBR-wise on last start. I think maybe Destination slightly above. So is that a race you want to bet in then? $7.50 Destination, $2.50 the place. Our Win Spirit, $6?
Definitely. Our Win Spirit's definitely a horse I can entertain. I think he'd be hard to beat in a race like this. He's type of horse from a first 3 perspective at that price. He'd be worth speculating. No knock at all. Our Win Spirit, think it's on the improved this campaign.
Sorry, mate. You just mentioned Our Win Spirit twice. Which one was it, Our Win Spirit or Destination you'd rather back?
Destination is the horse who is on top for me from Our Win Spirit.
Yep. Got ya. Okay. Race 3 is mares. I think it's mares and fillies. Let me just check. 1,400 metres. It is 4-year-old mares and up. Only words, Anavisto, Lunicorn. So Anavisto's $3.90. Actually, the favourite is Tarath. Jai Mcneil rides Anavisto $3.90. And I'm pretty sure Johnny Allen's picked up that ride from Jamie Carr. And then it's $8 the rest. So the market really has it as a race in 2 between Tarath and Anavisto.
Yeah, I don't think the market's too far off either. I was taken by this horse's performance at Flemington. Tarath, when it defeated Aidensfield, Don't Tell the Boss, the closer, etc. Strong on speed performance, good increase in speed first section, excessive slowdown through the mid. 4.6 length slowdown through the mid race, then accelerated 6 to the 4 and sustained that on a day where it was quite difficult to run time. He was the 3rd best, she was the 3rd best of the day performance overall and started to run to her profile from Great Britain. So interesting horse with plenty of upside. Dry track for this runner's key, likes a dry surface. So that track pushing into that G4 range. Horse to beat from mine, from Anavisto. Anavisto's always been a friend of the show. Has a dynamic wet track profile, but also capable dry, also capable first up. First up 1,400 shouldn't be an issue. Price Camp's always got them up and ready to go early. So Tarath on top from me, from Anavisto. Think they will be the 2 fighting at the finish.
All right. I'm guessing that's not a betting race, though.
I can entertain Tarath. I think you might get the price to back it too.
Okay.
So, yeah, I could definitely entertain. Very difficult to see Tarath missing the first 3.
Okay. Race 4 is the Mcneil Stakes. We see the Blue Diamond winner, Artorius, back at the races. He's the $3.10 favourite from General Bow at $3.50, who has a run under the belt. Hearsay is $4.60 for Godolphin. Mr. Mozart $6.50, and it's $10 the rest. It's only a small field here, but what are you expecting from Artorius first up?
Well, that's probably going to be the question, the golden question here. 1,200 definitely suitable. I think it's an ideal position to kick off the campaign. With these races, you've always got little holes there. You're going to have horses like General Bow, Hearsay, etc., Bruckner. They've had a run. They're going to have that little bit of, they're going to have that element of fitness edge, but I don't think necessarily, I've got a little question mark around some of these class-wise.
Yeah.
Mounting out will be vital for Artorius, 154 days in between runs.
2 jump outs, I think.
Yeah, he's a bull. From his 2 to 3 year old campaign being a bull, he'll get a little bit heavier. You could see these things these Blue Diamond winners fall off the cliff pretty fast. But definitely on talent, he's the horse to beat from these. And he could, realistically, I would think he could beat these in trial mode. So hard horse to beat. If he comes anywhere near his best, he'll be winning.
All right, $3.10. I just think it's worth today asking whether it's a bet or not, considering we do have a number of short price favourites. So $3.10, are you betting Artorius?
No, I'm happy to watch those go around, even though I've got a level of expectation on this horse that he will win.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sitting back and risking your money on, I think there's better options. And you can't be too hard on yourself. If you sit back and something that you think wins, and you don't have anything on it, so bad. You got to learn to get over it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Interested to get your thoughts then on the next race. It's the Heath 1100 Stakes, and Masked Crusader is $1.80 favourite. Oxley Road, the impressive horse on the up for Peter Moody is $7. You got Viridine, Amish Boy, Space Boy at 11, Crosshaven 12, Poland 19. Masked Crusader, I've had a look back. I'm pretty sure first up last prep, he ran a plus 2.5. If he was to return with that sort of number, he deserves to be $1.80. He's obviously a Group 1 winner in the race. But how much do you factor in that grand final day is obviously the Everest? They're pretty much guaranteed a start in the Everest. So he probably doesn't have to be too wound up for a race that is, what are we, 2 months away, about 6 or 7 weeks away. How do you assess Masked Crusader at $1.80 here on Saturday?
You tell me.
Oh, bloody hell. I feel like when he's a short price favourite, he gets rolled. And when he's got a bit of juice around his odds, he runs well. I think if he runs that plus 2.5, he wins. Whether I want to back him or not at $1.80, I think I would be leaning towards staying out. But I think, clearly he's the obvious winner for mine.
How many starts did he have last campaign?
I can look that up. He had 5 runs last campaign.
5 runs last campaign. His worst IVR score was a 2.1 lengths above.
Yeah.
At Randwick over 1,400, and they went -8 through the first section. He was home almost plus 10.
Yeah.
He went to a new level last campaign. If this was a Group 1 race, if we were talking about, say, put these in an Oakley plate, for instance, say, I reckon you get 50s or betters in an Oakley plate, the rest of them. And this bloke would probably jump favourite or second favourite still. He's, he's a megastar compared to these things.
Yeah.
You've got Long in the Tooth, Viridine, Prezado don't go around the corner, Crosshaven, Poland, Oxley. I'm not, you can mark Masked Crusader 100 to 1 in Everest if you can't beat Oxley Road.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, if they're going to win an Everest, this thing will win this trialing.
Yep.
So fast horses, a fast 126-day break. He'll have a ton of residual fitness. You can't get him big enough to be excessively fresh or excessively heavy. He'll have his element of residual fitness there. You know, they can put the Everest in. If he can't just jump, sit where he likes, if they want to go back to last and come with one go, he's the horse who's capable of anywhere between a +3 on the low and a +10 on the high last 400. He can lead. He's got a monster mid-race in him. You know, I've got a level of expectation, as we discussed on the show the other night with Tommy Berry, that this is potentially the best sprinter in Australia. So
yep.
He should just kill this lot.
Okay. Well said. Let's flick over then to the Cochran Stakes. We've got Probabile at $2.10, Instant Celebrity $3.80, and it's $11 a rest. Probabile, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head, but she also had a big number first up last prep. She beat Paul's Regret. It might have been, you tell me, was it +1.5?
When she beat Paul's Regret first up last campaign, this young lady was a third best of the day, 2.4 lengths above IVR,
yep,
over 1,200 metres this track and trip. I think she might have even, did she get, was she wide the trip on that day?
I think she was. You're right, +2.4 performance. And they were talking down how she was going. She had, if you remember, she had that jump out at Geelong where she wasn't really that impressive, and they actually bypassed a Group 1 over 1,400 metres on the same day to run in the 1,200 with 60 kilos. And I think we got $2.80 that day. Again, bypassed the Memsie Stakes, run in the 1,200 metres. She runs that +2.4. She just wins, right?
Yeah. Simple mathematics. She goes anywhere near that, she wins. With the little asterisk next to it, the Instant Celebrity is very progressive. 5 of its last 6 starts have been broken IVR benchmark. She got a PB to her name, 1,600. Caulfield, 2 lengths above. Mares continue to improve as they get older, so she can still progress into that 2 range. She can run 2 mid-2s. She's got that type of profile that wouldn't surprise. So she would be the only asterisk in the race. But if Probabile doesn't fix these up, it might be a short, sharp spring for Probabile, and she might be in the breeding barn. I would expect her to get the job done here. And I think Black Figures is overs.
What we love about Probabile is that she's a fighter. She just loves to win, doesn't she? We saw that last prep. As I said.
Yeah. And when we go back to what we discussed earlier in terms of riders, you've got a horse like Probabile, loves a little bit of brutality, street fighter style, isn't the rock star in terms of I'll finish 1080 splits, etc., just loves a dog fight. And then you get somebody who likes just out punching everybody else with Lane on. So Probabile and Lane are a perfect combination. Like that's A-grade combination from rider horse. So when you're profiling horses, for me, that's as good as it gets on any level.
All right. One of the better betting races on the day is race 7, the Heatherly Stakes, 1,700 metres. I'm assuming a number of these horses, or a couple of them certainly, would be looking at races like the Caulfield and Melbourne Cups to try and get in, especially with no internationals, maybe even races like the Metrop in Sydney. Angel of Truth is the $5 favourite. Thought it was a pretty good run first up to finish second. Ziegfeld for Godolphin, Damien Oliver, $6.50. Kieran Maher, Dave Eustace have Bartholomew Diaz at 7. Mr. Moneybags, $9.50. Charlie Rose at 10 is an interesting one. I think this horse has a bit of talent. $10 looks like a bit of value in this race. Scottish Dance at 10, Miami Bound 12, Delphi 14, English King 19. I have to go all the way down to $31 for Melbourne Cup winner, Vow and Declare from a couple of years ago. Damien Lane rides as well. And chatting to Danny O'Brien, he was of the feeling that Vow and Declare would be a bit more fitter than Miami Bound. I'm pretty sure. Let me just check what he said there. But we've got, Angel of Truth is the $5 favorite. Let me search what Danny O'Brien had to say about his two, but I'll let you dissect this race.
I really didn't like this race.
Okay.
I had an element of, when I went right through it, each and every individual runner, I thought I could find a ton of holes in each of them.
Yeah.
1700, even horses like we discussed Charlie Rose, etc. You're still depending on a horse, going to need a PB at any distance under 2,000 metres in order to win. No effort. Horses like that, they'll be punching. They're trying to win on fitness, so they're going to make it put a bit of brutality into the race. I wasn't too dismissive of English King's performance at Bendigo. Synthetic Hoof Filler comes off. He could definitely leap in a race like this. He's around the 20-1 mark. It's hard to fault Bartholomew Diaz's performance at Flemington when it come from behind horses like High Stranger, Dice Roll, Sierra Sue, etc. Got into the faster part of the track. If you take a form line through a horse like Sierra Sue, etc., extremely hard to fold. It was the 14th best of the day performance, 1.1 lengths below. So again, going to need a PB from that runner over 1,700 metres to get up and really be able to entertain a runner like that. I kept coming back to Angel of Truth and thought this is probably D-Day. You're not going to find anything easier than this in terms of, I'm not talking down the talent level of the competition because there are smart horses here. But their true talents are 2,000 and above, where this horse, you're talking about a horse who you go back Randwick last year, second up over a mile, produced a 13th best of the day, 1.7 lengths above IVR benchmark, around horses like Avelius, Finch, Shared Ambition, Life Less Ordinary, Natoya, for example. There's none of them here. It can be that sharp over the mile 1,700. So, all things being equal, there was no... your eyes didn't deceive you in the first up run at Caulfield. It was a fourth best of the day benchmark performance. The last 100 was really solid. 3.1 length acceleration, last 200 was just going through its gears. The Sierra Sue form line that we spoke about prior, which was through the Dice Roll, High Stranger, etc., is a false form line for a runner like that. It's improved probably 3 lengths superior horse in this Angel of Truth, Red Can Man, Superstorm Best of Days profile. So that's tricky for when you're sitting down reading the form and you're trying to take the same line through the same horse. It doesn't always equal the same outcome, if you know what I mean. There are stronger form lines through each race, and Sierra Sue on that day wasn't overly impressive. So Angel of Truth, extremely hard to fault. And if it doesn't win this, it's in for a painful campaign. Mr. Moneybags wasn't too bad. I'm not a Mr. Moneybags supporter, but I was taken by his performance at Caulfield. And I do like this Lindsay Smith regime where he doesn't step these horses up in distance until he feels like he's got the run under their belt that they're ready. So he had the 3 goes at 1,400 with him, and he's taken his time. I think this horse might be ready now also, so he could sneak into the money at a good price. So for me, I was Angel of Truth to beat Bartholomew Diaz. Mr. Moneybags couldn't really split those two. Not overly interested in anything else.
In 30 seconds, what did you make of Charlie Rose?
Charlie Rose. I think Charlie Rose is an interesting runner. It's that lightweight, punchy sort of Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup. Come over here, dream, hope. it's going to need a PB at anything under 2,000 metres. And it brings in a profile. Oh, sorry, it's got a best of the day 0.8 above at Sandown. So I do apologise for that. It's not my typical profile. But again, you're not going to have to jump over many hurdles. Definitely a first four player, but the race is pretty thin.
Yeah. I put Angel of Truth on top. As you said, benchmark performance last start and last prep finished 1.8 lengths off Very Elegant over 2,000 metres. I don't think many horses in this field would come within 2 lengths of Very Elegant over 2,000 metres. So I agree with you. Benchmark performance last start is a great platform to elevate here, and I'd be expecting Angel of Truth to be winning. And as you said, if not, there'd be real question marks about what sort of level this horse can get to. But wins here or runs really, really well, I think you'll see this horse in a race like the Metrop or the Caulfield Cup. Let's look at the Group 1 Memsie Stakes. Obviously, a few jockey changes here. The new rider for Behemoth, the $4.20 favourite, is Brett Preble. Ben Mallam obviously lost the ride on Bo Rosser, now picked up by Linda Meach. So that's really interesting. But we've got Behemoth at $4.20, Tofane at $4.60. Inspirational Girl, $7. Spoke to Danny O'Brien. She's had a long layoff since winning the Railway and running second in the Kingston Town in the summer. And he's really looking for her. She's got a lot of fitness to come. She's only had the one jump out leading into this, but she's $7. Agon $9.50, Bo Rosser $9.50. Obviously first across the line against Behemoth, but then relegated on protest. Sierra Sue 10, Colette 11. I think that's big odds for Colette. Streets of Avalon 19, Red Can Man 19, 50 Stars 26, Sansom 34, Archimedes 81. Personally, I think it's a race between Behemoth and Tofane, with Colette just behind them. But how do you sort it out?
I found this race really intriguing. I don't think you're going to be too far off the mark there. Tofane commands a ton of respect, as does Behemoth. His performance in Adelaide was basically the perfect way to start his campaign over an unsuitable 1,200 metre distance.
Yep.
And it was one of his better 1,200 metre performances in his career. It was also one of the best, as good as he's resumed.
Yep.
So, I'm confident we've got a ceiling with him, which is in the threes, like the 3 to mid threes, and it's early in the campaign and it's 1,400, and it's typically Caulfield, where he was excellent going back 12 months ago.
Yeah.
Winning these 1,400 metre races and being quite dominant in doing so. Question mark I have with him is Craigie Boy from the inside draw. You would think's going to try and punch up and hold his position with Tofane. He proved she wasn't one-dimensional. And I think he'd be keeping close tabs on where Behemoth is in running. So Craigie, I like this setup for Craig. I think he's, we touched on this going back 12 months ago when it comes to these little tactical battles where Craig can control everything around him. And when he can control his main rivals, he's an extremely dangerous rider in these circumstances. So I'm leaning towards Tofane. It's going to take a big training performance. She technically has been in work since April. She had the 35 days in between runs from her first up performance at Randwick prior to going to Brisbane. Then when she was in Brisbane, she had the 3 runs where she really peaked big time. She was ultra impressive. Back-to-back performances, 3.5 and 4 lengths above IVR, the latest being a best of the day.
Yep.
63 days in between runs give you the indication that what she had 1 week in the paddock, maybe 2.
Yeah.
She definitely hasn't had a spell. So she's going to have to try and reignite very quick. But in saying that, she'll have a ton of residual fitness, and she was flying when she left off. So for me, she's impossible to really fault. And I marked her on top of the obvious, which is Behemoth. I'm expecting him to start to test that 3 lengths above IVR benchmark range once again. Preble is flying, so definitely no knock on a rider switch there. I do agree with what you say with Colette, who's going to be the one from the back. May not get the best race shape to strike, which gives you the little indication of, can you give a Tofane or a Behemoth? Can you give them a few lengths on the dry ground? It'll take some Damien magic. He'll be scouting wide to the lane to try and run them down. So if she beat them, and probably ditto Inspirational Girl, if either of those two were able to win here, they're in for monster springs.
They are, yeah. I agree.
So for me, I just took the obvious from a race pace and shape perspective, which was Tofane, who I expected to run first 3, from Behemoth, from Colette, from Inspirational Girl. I've got no knock and a close watch on Aegon, the Kiwi, but I'm convinced he's hit a ceiling. And I'm convinced that ceiling's about a length inferior to what we may need to win here. Yep. So if he wins, there's a big possibility the other two haven't come to play. I'm not expecting him to go to that new level, but he's the first 5 sort of player. He'll be up there punching around. I'm really not interested in anyone else.
Okay, and with Bo Rossa running pretty much equal with Behemoth first up, is that sort of his level? You don't see him finding another length and a half here?
I think he had every opportunity in the world and more to beat the other one. Yep. I think he's also the superior wet tracker on a day where the track was quite wet. Mm-hmm. And I think he is at his best at those sprint trips.
Yeah.
I'm expecting one to go and the other to go. So I don't think he'll get anywhere near him.
Yeah, okay. The way I broke it down, so Behemoth last prep and pretty much following last spring, following the exact same prep this spring, won in Adelaide, came here, ran a plus 3.5, second up to win this race. I think he nearly repeated that to win the Rupert Clark 2 weeks later, sort of mid 3.5. I remember actually us saying, forget the 60 kilos in the Rupert Clark. He's just going to run that 3.5 again and win, and he did. So that's the level I expect him to go to here. And when you told me during the week that he had run a 1.9 first up, I thought, yeah, that's the perfect platform to go 3.5 again here. So then that leaves you with Tofane, who went 3.5 and 4 in her 2 runs in Queensland. I just have this gut feeling that she's not going to be able to produce that. I just feel like she needed those couple of runs under her belt last prep to hit that Queensland Carnival in order. I'm just a little bit worried that 63 days might leave the edge off her a bit. So I've got Behemoth on top. If Tofane wins, all honours to her, she's been a star mare. In fact, I think they were nearly tempted to send her to the Magic Millions middle of this year, and then she came out and did what she did. So she's earned herself another preparation. And then Colette, well, I think she ran about a 2.5 first up last prep off a really slow lead speed, massive mid-race squeeze, and finished really strong. Interested to know whether when you see a performance like that, do you think there's another level there, or do they just run to that level? I know mares continue to improve. I'm also talking about when you've got a performance like that of such a low lead speed. Do you look at it and think, man, if she had a few, if she went a bit quicker earlier, she could have produced a better figure? Or is there enough evidence to say that her limit is sort of that mid twos for now until we know, until we see her do it?
Colette?
Yeah.
I think she's completely and utterly untapped.
She is, yeah.
She reminds me a little bit of Very Elegant. She's matched motors with Very Elegant. She's got these little runs that are on the board, and they're a bit hidden. You know, her performances behind horses like Probable Fun Star, for example, where, you know, then you go back and you've got other performances, you know, as soon as she hits anywhere near the 2,000 metre range, wet ground, you know, anywhere between a mile and 2,000 wet ground, you just, you know, you, apart from Very Elegant, you'd be confident that she'd nearly beat anything else. You know, she's beaten Colding, she's beaten Very Elegant, she's beaten the best horses in the country when she's had things her own way. Yep. So, to me, she's got that Very Elegant platform. She's got the same sort of platform as Very Elegant, where she just needs that little bit of give in the ground to be dynamic, to be the little superstar that we've seen. And on dry ground, she doesn't lose her ability, but it just brings her back to the competition just that little bit. She doesn't have the elite straight line speed as much on the dry ground. So for her, to me, she's completely untapped.
Yeah.
And if you told me that this spring she went to the next level, went into the mid-4s and she was competitive, you know, if you could tell me she won the Caulfield Cup, I wouldn't be surprised. I think she's a little star. And her first up run here is going to really set the tone of what to expect for the rest of the spring. So in terms of answering questions surrounding her, she's one that I've got a real big neutral don't know against. Yeah,
but very few horses run a plus 3.5 first up, right? So we'd probably expect her, she runs really well. She's running in the 2s and then elevating off that as she goes into the prep. That's my thinking anyway.
She's going to get a race shape and Damien's going to look for wide lanes. You know, if the leaders make errors, if they go hard and pull the brakes up and those from the back start to get into the toe, and Damien can be in a 3-4 wide position within 4 to 5 lengths of the leader and hit those wide lanes in the straight, she's the sort of horse, along with the one down the bottom, Inspirational Girl.
Yeah,
they're wrecking balls if they get into that that sort of position. Like, from a next-gen perspective, we're not expecting Inspirational Girl to win this weekend. It'd be a huge bonus for her if she could. But we're talking about we're only a couple of runs away from her getting into that 1,800 metre range. And when she gets there, we're going to have the Arcadia Queen level of confidence, and we're going to have the truck slammed into reverse, the alarm going off to put the money on. She's that level of talent. So, you know, we've got a little monster here. And if she can really hammer the line late, there's going to be something in for the next gen family.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm really excited about Inspirational Girls prep. I was actually a little bit tempted to include her in the numbers this week, but I wanted to chat to Danny and see how wound up she is, and it feels like she's going to need the run. So, as you said, I'll be looking for her second up Mackay Diva, maybe third up Underwood, fourth up Turnbull, something like that sort of prep. So we'll watch her with interest because what she did in Perth was really exciting. But I'll put Behemoth on top from Tofane, from Colette, from Inspirational Girl. All right, last race of the day. Can we finish off with another short price winner? It's Ayrton at $2.50. I think Johnny Allen's picked up that ride as well with Jamie Carr suspended. Great Again and Outrageous have been scratched. Groundswell $7. Frosty Rocks $8.50. King Magnus $9.50. Regards Marie $11. But Ayrton, we know, has some really high level talent. They're talking Golden Eagles with this horse. I think he even, that race where he ran second to Apache Chase to try and get into the Stradbroke and failed, I think he ran a +3.5 or something in that range. what sort of level do you expect him to run here first up? And is he the obvious winner?
He comes in. He's got it from his 2 first up performances so far. The best of the 2 has been a second best of the day, 1.3 lengths above IVR benchmark from Caulfield from last campaign when he beat horses like Curran, the Big Easy. And then he went on his merry way and basically put back 2 back-to-back PB performances together in Queensland, where he was beaten by a really good horse in Apache Chase in Queensland, on a track where not all horses really like that racetrack. And sometimes it just takes one go to really get used to it. But I wasn't underwhelmed by his performance. Thought he was really good. And then he was just simply excellent. His last start over a mile. This looks like a really good race for him because horses like Frosty Rocks and Groundswell, with the level of aggression Frosty's going to have, Frosty Lane, that is, with Groundswell, he'll get up there and get punching. And Frosty Rocks comes here off the back of a track record performance at Kembla Grange from the front. So there should be enough heat in it early, which should stretch him a little bit and give John Allen the opportunity to put the left-hand indicator on and just slot it in behind them. I doubt he'd really want to rip the Band-Aid off and bust him up first up. He'll get the opportunity to drop on those, and he can chase. He's a good chaser, and he's a high talent. So I don't think it's going to be too dissimilar from his first up performance when he had to chase one down and win. So in terms of where he's at, he could produce a performance anywhere. You think it'd be 1.3 on the low, and he might go to the 2s on the high. Anything in the 2s you think would win. I marked him on top and thought, once again, he was going to be the horse to beat. I was taken by Frosty, and I think Frosty might give him something to chase, Frosty Rocks. I'd just like to see Craig just err on the side of aggression with Frosty and really make the other one chase him down. Groundswell's a really good horse, but he does have that limitation, struggles to get through the 2 brackets. So he was there. There's another horse that I'd like to keep an eye on. He's only had the 2 runs back this campaign off 469-day break. And I thought he was quite good in both of them, which was the McAvoy runner, Secret Blaze. If he could be hitting the line in behind them, there's going to be races for a horse like him. Little chance to a horse like Galway. But Ayrton, you'd expect him to be mighty hard to beat in the last from Frosty and Groundswell. Am I, mate?
You're backing Ayrton?
You're probably going to get the price here to find out. He's, the 221. What is he, 215, that sort of price?
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to get the price to get in there and have a go, I think. So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem in the world backing a horse like that, and probably going to get the place price too. So hard to see him missing the first 3.
Would you put him in a multi? Masked Crusader, Probabile, Ayrton, all 3 to win?
No, I don't have multis, Sunshine. You can back them all on their individual merit.
Some next geners do like multis, mate.
Yeah, well, some people don't like their money either. I don't like multis. If you want to play that game, you back them all individually. And if your confidence level's increasing and you want to double the stakes as you go, be my guest. But as long as you're in control of your money and you don't lose, when you have a multi-bet, run in race 1, run in race 8, you don't really have any control over your cash for the rest of the day. So at least if you back the first one, if you're going to have a $10 multi, you have your $10 on the first one, and you can make the decision later in the day whether you want to invest $19 onto the next one or you just want to have 10 on it.
Yep.
I think that's a simple little process, isn't it?
No, that's fair enough. And obviously there's a few bookmakers out there that will actually offer bonus bets back for horses that come 2nd and 3rd. So you can start with the first leg of the multi if it doesn't get up, or you've got the bonus bet to play with the next race as well. And if you're a small punter like me, that's not a bad way to go about it either. All right. Well, I think we've wrapped it up there. It looks like it's going to be a pretty good day for favourites. We've got a couple of questions on the Facebook page. One is in relation to a race at Kembla Grange. It's the San Domenico for the 3-year-olds. Some gun 2-year-olds here. Stay Inside, the Golden Slipper winner resumes. We had a chat to Tommy Berry about him on Monday. Clearly, a lot of talent, this horse, but he comes up against Remark, who was outstanding, running third with no luck behind Paul Alley. First up this campaign, it was probably 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks between runs looks good for these 3-year-olds, but how do you break this down? The question from Ryan Hay is: a San Domenico at Kembla looks a ripper of a race. Do Paul Alley and Remark have an edge on Stay Inside, or does the wet track keep Stay Inside in the mix?
What's our track rating?
Kembla Grange, we're looking at a soft 7 right now.
Soft 7.
Stay Inside, obviously 2 from 2 on the soft. Won the Golden Slipper on a soft 7. He won the Piero on a soft 7. On the good 4 Todman, he ran 4th to Animo and Profiteer, but then came out on the soft and won the Golden Slipper pretty nicely in style. But, I thought Remark was one that really caught the eye last start. Probably missed a trick in not asking Tommy Berry about Remark, but Tommy's obviously chosen to stick with the Group 1 winner.
I was extremely taken with Remark leading into, so his second ever career start at Randwick. It was only a benchmark performance. He went 0.1 below, 40th best of the day. But it put a little note next to his name that, that was behind Stay Inside, Home Affairs, Profiteer, Animo, etc. I just put a little note next to his name that he had a 3-year-old look about him. And I think after that, they found out pretty quick. They put him straight in the paddock and said, we'll see you later on. He came out in his latest, and I'm not saying he should have won, because I think one of the greatest loads of rubbish is when you're sitting there going, "Boy, that was a moral beating." I think that's the pinnacle of racing rubbish. The should have won factor, 99% of times also shouldn't have won, and they didn't win. So I'm not saying that he should have won this horse, but I was really, really taken by the level of exhilaration over the last 200 metres. I was taken by that because you watch the visual. He was stopped in his tracks and he did lose considerable amount of momentum. Basically stopped to a halt in that section between the 4 and the 200.
I'm going off the top of my head here because I think Vince spoke about it on the podcast. So tell me if I'm right. Was he going somewhere like +4 between the 6 and the 4, and then -4 between the 4 and the 2, and then +4 again? Did he lose 8 lengths and pick up 8 lengths, something like that? Or
no, he was going 4.3 lengths above between the 6 and the 4. It was a building 0.4. A building +4.3, so there was an acceleration price. So he's increasing his momentum. Then in that section where Tommy reverted back to the inside, he basically got stuck. He thought the run was going to open and the doors closed. Between the 4 and the 2, he lost 4.4 lengths, which took him to 0.1 below. The acceleration late was a 4.7 length acceleration.
That's outstanding, really.
Yeah, it's high quality stuff. He was the coiled spring, stuck in behind them. When he got out, there was a secondary explosion there. Where you look at a horse like Paul L. Paul L suffered a 0.3 slowdown in between that same section. But if you watch the way that the jockeys approached that section, they knew they had Tommy where they wanted him. So in order for them to basically just sit up and control the speed and not accelerate, because if they all went, Tommy gets out. So they just controlled that level of that speed. And when J-Mac asked this horse to go, he went from plus 2.8 to plus 4.4. So he still showed a good level. You know, he had a 1.6 length acceleration when he let go. So really taken by all of them. I don't think there's too much between them. You could easily penalise. You could easily draw the conclusion that Remark's lost X amount of ground, and that's the level of ground that we need to take. And we could easily put him in front. But because he hasn't been asked for that massive acceleration, he has had that slowdown. Yes, it is a second effort, but he hasn't been, the winner's been under full duress for the best part of 800 metres, where he has been stopped in his tracks and hasn't spent that level of energy in between that section. So it didn't have the chance to deteriorate late. So I'm of the opinion that Remark might be a bit of a monster, but we haven't seen it. So I'm going on an estimated thought process here. If he keeps trending in that direction, he, along with Paul Al, stay inside's definitely the interesting one, because if he wants to come out and go to this level 2, then we might be looking at a bivouac, exceedance, yes. You know, they're not up to that level yet, but we might have 3 really exciting colts to watch, you know, going forward into races like the Golden Rose, etc. So stay inside, wet track, definitely going to be in its favour, and has an ideal profile to step up from the 2-year-old to the 3-year-old campaign. But I always come in with the question mark surrounding the slipper winner. And I always say, you got to do it before I'm going to trust you as a 3-year-old.
Yep.
So interesting race. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Remark went through the roof.
So we've got $2.40 stay inside, $2.50 Paul Alley, $5 Remark.
Oh, if it was a good track, the $4 Remark, you could be taking that. But it might just be a watch and learn if that track doesn't improve.
Yep.
Good race. Exciting.
Yep. All right. I'll see what else we've got question-wise. 2 more questions here. So your brother Jordan, is there any data indicating an improved run from Quick Thinker? Had a few collects on him in the past, gets out to 2,000 metres, wet track, makes his own luck in front, nice each way odds. Let me find that race. I think it's race 7, Hayden, at Kembla Grange. He's $23 and $6 the place in the Premier's Cup over 2,000 metres.
Few goes on. He was poor first up Hawkesbury. Did nothing really, did he? He went Berta back, Kukaracha and co. He has been successful in the past when he's jumped mile to 2,000, but he's going to need to really improve. He's 100% got the talent level to shake the life out of those. He's not a horse I'd want to say no to, but he's a very difficult horse to he's a difficult horse there to get excited about. He's going to need to improve drastically off the first up run. And without a visual on the first up run and only a statistic, that drop-off late was alarming. So I'm neutral unless there was something bleeding obvious there.
All right. Last question, Lachlan Chapman. What are your thoughts in general regarding early spring races? Do you prefer the in-form fit horses or those with a class edge looking to peak later? And my thoughts are I generally go with the class horse that has good first up figures to its name. But how do you feel about the class horse first up versus a horse that's had a few runs in its prep?
I like to stay away from categorizing horses and basically backing yourself into a corner with a thought process and trying to make that thought process or theory work along the lines of each and every runner. I think understanding a horse's profile and a platform is a far bigger weapon than trying to go in with any preconceived ideas. And if you've got a level of evidence to support your theory and your platform and the form and your work that you've done, could make your job a lot easier. Take a horse like Behemoth, for example. You know, when you get this sharp first up 1,200 metre run, you've got that level of expectation going into the 1,400. You know he's not going to be rock hard fit because a big burly horse like him is typically going to take 3 or 4 to be right at the top of his game fitness-wise. But you know he can really spike performance-wise second and third up.
Yeah.
You've got other horses there.
Colette.
Yeah, so much. You know, you've got other horses there that you've got a level of expectation, and there's been some communication through trainers, etc. Inspirational Girls, one of them. You know, you can look towards a mounting yard report and put the nail into those. Then you get some of those that are trying to cling on, that are rock hard fit, and basically try and compete at the higher level because they think they may have a fitness edge. The thing you've got to be really careful with those runners about is when they try and alter race shape and tactics to use a fitness. If it's outside the horse's typical profile or typical race shape, it can really come unstuck bad. It's the same when you see and hear of horses who race that don't have the necessary talent, and then we put something like weight. We use weight as a weapon and say, okay, well, horse has got no weight. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to use the weight, for example. Normally, you'll see a sharp 200-meter acceleration, and then the horse will just be blown to pieces.
Yeah,
they've tried to do something on it that it's not capable of doing. They might try and use the weight by going out and going hard. And then all we're going to report back on the Monday morning is that you went out plus 10, you blew your horse to pieces, and you're finished.
Yeah.
So the little things you got to be wary of, but ultimately, profiling and understanding race shapes, etc., will take you a lot further than trying to generic them down to fitness edge over freshness and things like that.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Lockie. All right, something different I'm trying. Hayden, I don't think I've even told you, but I posted on the group whether we wanted a couple of next-gen followers to jump in, give us a best bet or ask you a question. I've got one in the waiting room now, so I'm going to add him to the chat. He's just joining us now.
You haven't told me about this. This is
off the cuff, mate. I'm just trying something different. Kartik Rajesh, thanks for joining us, mate, on Next Gen.
Thank you, mate.
Hayden wasn't prepared for this, but I put a call out in the Facebook group for anyone who wants to join us. Give us a best bet or ask Hayden a question. So what would you like to do as far as Caulfield on Saturday? Have you got a best bet for us?
Yeah, I think Tofane is going to be hard to beat in the Memsie. Just with the barrier draw. I know that she might not be fully wound up first up, but I think a few more ticks in her camp rather than Behemoth, especially with the news that Jay Carr is now off. But if I'm being honest, Melbourne probably isn't my forte. I got one out wide for the viewers out there. Cairns, which is my hometown, it's got their annual cup meeting tomorrow. And I've done the form. And in race 2, Vienna Cruise should be hard to beat, I think.
All right. Beautiful, mate. Did you have a question for Hayden while you're here?
Not really, mate. I wasn't prepared with questions, to be honest. All good.
Who's going to win the Cairns Cup?
I like Bering Sea. It was a very good run in the Townsville Cup. And most of the form lines come through that and sort of meets the winner of the Townsville Cup a little bit better off with the weights. And it was just as good a run. It sort of had to weave in and out of traffic and then just missed. I think it was about $30 that day I was on. Bit of a sick beat, but yeah, I think I'll back it up with my money again at about $11 this time around. Bering Sea from the one draw. Being told it's going to be pushed forward from the gate, so at least a nice positive ride. We know that much. Yeah, it should go well.
All right. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Hayden's got Tofane on top. I've picked Behemoth, so it's 2 against 1 right now. Thanks for joining us, mate. I've got someone else waiting in the waiting room. Good punting
good, mate.
tomorrow.
Thanks, mate. Have a good one.
See you,
Thanks,
mate.
guys. Cheers.
All right. Just adding Nicole to the chat as well, Hayden. I didn't mind that. Just get the next gen followers on to give us a tip and perhaps ask you a question. We've got Nicole Nugent joining us now. Nicole, can you hear us? Hold on. You might have to get your mic working. We can't hear you there. What do you think about those tips at Cairns, by the way, Hayden? You got any data at Cairns?
Well, that came from left field, didn't it? I wasn't expecting a guest from the group, and I really wasn't expecting any form from Cairns. So you want to talk about stumping me first up? You've done it.
All right, Nicole. Try that again, Nicole. No, we can't hear you there, Nicole. We'll just give you another 30 seconds to try and sort yourselves out. So a couple of tips there from Cairns. One at $11, Hayden.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? And, he was following up his money too. He's been done at the 30s and he's spotted the 11s, and we're going to back up. So don't go wrong with that. Normally, when you get one in the zone there at Cairns, they're hard to beat. So I'm not sure what race we're. Oh yeah, I'm just clicking up now. I've just got the Cairns Cup up on my platform here, and I have that. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about anyone that's running, but the neutral number that's come up on top for me is Namazu. So I'm hoping that Bering C is the one that gets the money. But if we're doing the form on the Cairns Cup with no notice whatsoever, I got Namazu on top.
All right. Is your microphone working there, Nicole? No, we can't quite hear you there. So we might just get you to give us a thumbs up or a 2, right? So are you on the Behemoth thumbs up, or are you Tofane with the 2 fingers for the Memsie tomorrow? Behemoth. Great. All right. Well, we might get you on next week's show and make sure your mic's working next week. But thanks for joining, Nicole. Good luck on the punt tomorrow. All right. Well, that's us as a wrap, Hayden. I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot there. But I think we've hopefully found the punters a few winners. Masked Crusader, Probabile. We're head-to-head, Behemoth versus Tofane, and then maybe Ayrton will finish us off in the last. Anything else you want to sum us up with?
Yeah, 2 quick ones. I can't have you beating me again. You've had last week with Mwanga, I was very bullish about Mwanga. I had Colding on top, but was very bullish with Mwanga's chances. And Mwanga's a really big friend of the show, as we know. But generally, a lick of the ice cream's fine, but you've eaten the whole ice cream week 1. So just calm. You think you've had a little bit too much on. I don't want to see you getting ahead of yourself. And the only other thing I've got to leave you and our viewers with this week is get the thought process that you might want to have a couple of days to yourself with the Airbnb. I'd advise you just not to.
All right, mate. Good luck on the punt this week. Hope you enjoy the footy finals. Chat to you on Monday, hopefully.
All the best.
We've got a guest for the review show.
All the best. And for those that do like to follow the show, your beautiful wife is pregnant and due Memsie Stakes Day tomorrow. So hopefully the next time we speak to you, you're a new father with a happy and healthy wife and child.
Yeah, no, I think we'll be going a little bit over perhaps later next week, but let's wait and see. Good punting tomorrow, mate.
Hooroo.
Catch up.